Hello and welcome to this new episode for this week. This week I'm talking to Anne Borkent, a leader in Arnhem, the Netherlands, and he and his church have been going through a transition, changing from a one-man show, a one-man leadership church, to a fivefold model. Well, let's see. Yeah, here we go. Welcome, Anne. This is the second conversation we're having. The first one was in Dutch. We're going to try to do it in the same way for the English version. Though I have to say, just for the listeners or the viewers, by now, wife and kids have all come home and are walking around here. So you might hear some background sound. That's why we're also using different microphones now. So hopefully it'll be fine. If not, we're going to edit the sound. We'll see. So, welcome again.
Yes.
So, we got to know each other some time ago. And about a year ago, we spoke about, or I interviewed you for my book. Because as a church, you were in a transition at that moment.
Yes.
Why were you in a transition?
We came through the Corona crisis having bought our first building, which is really exciting. And that was in 2020. And as a visionary, I'm always kind of looking forward. So we were really excited after 12 years of saving to find this building. But as soon as we were in the building, I was like, okay, what's next? And so I was talking to my colleague, and so we decided, you know what? Now that we have a building, we need to organize a conference, because that's what you do as a church with a building. You organize conferences. And so we thought, let's organize a conference. And because we were in the Corona crisis, I had this sense that I want to ask God about the future of the church. I want to know, God, what do you have in store for the future of the church? Because I need some insight to lead our church to the future. And so as we were talking about that, we decided to call the conference Welcome to the Future. That was the name of the conference. This was in April 2021.
Nice name.
Yeah, so exciting. And we decided to ask a prophet who's part of our church movement from Australia to send us a video message, because she couldn't travel because of Corona. But we have known her for 20 years already.
Yeah.
And she recorded a video message for us about the future of the church.
Yeah.
And basically, to cut it short, the message was that we would discover things afresh in the scriptures about what church really is, what really constitutes the church. And she said it would be like Peter on the roof in Acts chapter 10, where he sees all these unclean animals and God says, get up and eat. And Peter is like, whoa, what do you mean? These are unclean animals. But God convinces him 3 times the vision is repeated that he also wants to include the Gentiles.
Yeah.
And later they corroborate that through the scriptures in Amos, which were already there for centuries, but they just never saw it.
Yeah.
That in Amos it's speaking about the Gentiles would be included. So she gave us a prophetic word, and she said, you will discover things about the church that have always been true, but you just never saw it.
Yeah.
And that's what we went into. We went into a period of discovery, which I spoke with you about for that book. What really constitutes a church? And there are several things. I'll try to be short. One is that a church is led by a multiplicity of gifts, of equippers, a multiplicity of equippers, Ephesians chapter 4. So, over the centuries, many churches have a model where there is one leader or pastor.
Yeah.
And often there's a lot of things expected from that one person. Whereas in Ephesians 4, we see there is fivefold equippers that are equipping the church. So that was the first thing we discovered. We were like, wait a minute, we need to go there as a church, not in theory, but in practice. Then the second thing was that God said in the future, although you have bought a building, but in the future, Christians will gather much more locally. So they won't drive for an hour to gather in some building somewhere. They might, but it will not be the basis for church.
Not the core business,
Not
so to say.
no, the core business, the basis will be that Christians will connect where they are. So maybe at their workplace, at their school, in their business, on Monday through to Friday, they will collect with other Christians, they will connect, they will pray together, and basically as a group, reach out to the non-Christians in that place. So in their school, in their workplace, etc. And so God said to us, if you keep focusing so much energy and money and time on 90 minutes every week, how are you going to help people to be the church in the other 9,990 minutes? And so we said, okay, that's a good point, but now we need some help. How do we do this?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I thought we had a point, but actually you have one as well.
God has a really good point.
Yeah, that's a funny way of putting it.
Yeah.
In the Dutch version, you also said that as a church, and I think that's not just true for your church, but a lot of the churches around. 90% of your time, energy, and money was focused on that 90 minutes of church service.
Yeah, which is kind of strange, isn't it? Because okay, we have a church building, but it's kind of weird to have a building for just 90 minutes.
Yeah.
That's a really bad investment. So obviously part of that is to use and leverage the building for other activities as well throughout the week. So different groups within the church can use it, like youth, young adults, men, women, etc. We can rent it out to other like-minded organizations. But at the same time, people are busy. They have jobs. They have commitments. And so we have quite a high level of excellence in our church. So we love making music and preaching on a high level. That costs a lot of preparation. Now, if people are spending a lot of time preparing for the band or for their role on Sunday morning, then there's hardly any time left to meaningfully connect with other Christians and reach out to the neighborhood, for instance, or doing missions work in the neighborhood, because everyone's busy organizing church. So one big part of what God was telling us was that we should stop organizing church. We should rather be the church. That means we need to lower our expectations, lower our level of excellence, so we will have more time for the being of the church in smaller groups throughout the week.
This sounds interesting. And indeed, if you look in the book of Acts, but also in the other letters, you can see that is basically what the church has always done.
Yes, exactly.
So that is really interesting that through the centuries we've diverted from that.
We've become very corporate. And I mean, this was a wake-up call for me, because of course, as a pastor, you're never going to admit that. You're never going to admit that we look a lot like a business, which is, in fact, we look a lot like the world in that sense. We have a business model.
A CEO.
With a CEO and,
yes.
and a lot of organization, whereas there's a lot of family language in the scriptures about the church. Now, of course, I'm not saying we don't need any organization, but we are, as a church, we're called C3 Rivers, and a river is always flowing through banks, through river banks. So the banks are the structure, but if there's too much river banks, there's no room for the river.
It becomes a lake.
If there's,
right?
That's right, and it becomes a trickle, rather. I think if there's too much river banks, it becomes a trickle. But if there is no river banks, then it becomes a lake. So we need just enough structure so the power of the river can flow through it. And we were just too structured. And so we had to lower that, and that means we had to lay down our church services the way we've always done them. We had to lay down systems, even our titles, because titles, we called everyone who was a leader a pastor. So, oh, you're leading the kids, now you're the kids pastor. You're leading
Yeah.
the youth, now you're the youth pastor. Well, we discovered some of these people were not pastoral, they were not a shepherd, but we called them a pastor because that's what you do. You call everyone who's leading something a pastor. And we discovered, well, actually, some people are an evangelist or a shepherd or a teacher. And so we should get rid of the titles,
Yeah.
but focus on the functions. So
Yeah.
that's what we did.
Good stuff. And in the meantime, you had some personal challenges to go through as well.
Yeah, I was quite burned out from taking our church through the Corona crisis. And my body started showing some signs of serious pain, but I thought that it was a physical issue.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, it turned out to be an emotional issue, that I had gone too far and I just needed a break.
Yeah.
And so basically, yeah, I love the way God has designed that, because our body is not our enemy, but our body will actually give us signals sometimes that we need to slow down. And as a visionary, I'm always running ahead of God, and God needed me to walk with him and not
Yeah.
run ahead of him. So
Yeah.
that I needed to take a break, and I was really happy I could do that. But also I needed to get ready for our transformation, because it actually was quite challenging, because we said to the church that we're going to be the church in a completely different way than we've always been. That means everything is going to be turned upside down. And I knew that would come with a lot of criticism. People would leave, and I wasn't ready for that. So I needed to take a break. God needed to get me ready. And then after my break, I came back. And then I somehow had grown in my spiritual strength or confidence, that I knew, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do what God is saying. And not that I will force it on anyone, but I will take our church with us. And I shared the word that I had received with our leadership team. And 25 of them, which is all 25 of them, they confirmed this is what we need to do. And that was exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's an exciting moment.
Yeah. Challenging but exciting.
So and then you had to quit being the church like you always were.
Yeah.
By doing what?
Well, then the challenge was, we knew in theory that we want to be a church that reaches people through Monday through to Saturday in the community. But the thing is, we kept organizing a lot of stuff, and we were stuck in a rut. Like, if you've been doing things for 20 years, then you can keep talking about stuff forever. But they say that insanity is to keep doing, the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And that's what we did. We talked a lot, but we didn't change things.
Yeah.
And so God gave us a prophetic word that he said, Moses is dead. And he said, if you want to receive the new wine, you need to bury the old.
Yeah.
You bury what is dead and you keep it buried.
Yeah.
I mean, they couldn't even find Moses' grave. So God said, if you want to receive the new that I have for you, you have to bury your church services, bury your titles, and bury your systems. And that's what we did.
Yeah, good. Well, we're going to... in Dutch, they would say een eind eraan breien.
Yeah, we're
going to knit an end to it. No, so you had to let go of your church services, the way you always did.
Yep.
Your church structures.
Yep.
And the titles, because you always saw yourself as a pastor, but found out, well, maybe the pastor as a leader, but not as a shepherd.
That's right.
So.
Yeah. So that was a discovery process that we did a test called 5Q, developed by Alan Hirsch, and it's an APEST test: Apostle, Prophet, Evangelist, Shepherd, Teacher, and it's scientifically based. So we did it with our entire 25 leaders, and then you get basically the top 2 of your motivations. So it's not that you are a prophet or you are an apostle or whatever, but it's your top 2 motivations. And my top 2 is apostolic teacher, which is exactly what I am. I'm a visionary leader who teaches people.
Yeah.
I'm not a pastor, shepherd. I'm not an evangelist. I'm not a prophet. I can do all those things, but it's not my main strength.
Yeah.
And likewise with the entire team, we did that.
Yeah.
And now we've hired someone on staff as a pastor because she is a pastor and people recognize her as such. We have someone who is a prophet. In fact, we have more prophets. We have 3 prophets in our team. We have an evangelist, we have a teacher, and we have an apostle. And I'm the apostolic leader. So now we say to the church, don't call me pastor because that confuses people.
Yeah.
So that's really helpful to know who is who. And so we've done away with the titles, but we've not done away with the functions.
Yeah. Sounds really healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you do have to recognize the different roles that there are. So, if you need some help with a certain issue in your life, you're going through a trauma, for instance, then you shouldn't go to a prophet.
That's right.
You have to go to a shepherd.
You need to know functions, but titles can stand in the way. If everyone who's leading something is called a pastor, then people will expect pastoral things from these people.
Yeah.
But they might not be pastoral. So we do need to know who they are. And also, everyone has a function in the body of Christ.
Yeah.
And titles, we have a man in our church who is a great administrator. He's fantastic with administration, and he's a bus driver. Now, I'm not introducing him to the rest of the church whenever I introduce him to someone else. I'm not going to say, hey, everyone, this is bus driver Peter.
Yeah.
His name is Peter. It's kind of weird, but we do that with pastors. I don't understand that. Like, hey, everyone, this is Pastor Simon.
Yeah. Though he might not be a shepherd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why do we do that? Why don't we go? I never introduce someone as bus driver Peter. I say, hey, everyone, this is Peter. Hey, Peter, that's awesome. And eventually the conversation goes to, what's your function? What do you do? I am a bus driver. Oh, that's awesome. So now everyone's just called by their first name.
Yeah.
I'm Ian or Anne in Dutch, and I'm an apostolic leader.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
And so we have that with everyone.
Cool. That sounds like a fivefold model in practice, and it's working.
It's working, and it is based on 15 years of relating to one another, getting to know each other. If you start this up from scratch, I think the most important thing is relationships, getting to know each other.
Yeah,
we trust each other. We've been through a lot together, but we have changed it now, and it's helpful for everyone.
Cool.
So
that really connects to the title of my new book, in which you'll be featured as well as one of the people that I've interviewed, the Fivefold Ministry in Practice. Yeah. And this is one of the models in which you can make that work. So thank you very much for your input, man.
Yeah, pleasure.
And
looking forward to your book, and may bless and help a lot of people, because we need to make things practical. So
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your input, man.
Yeah, pleasure.
And see you next time.
Yes.
You've listened to a podcast by the 1820 Foundation and fivefold.eu. For more information and contact, please visit www.fivefold.eu. We are a ministry, and all the work we do is made possible from donations. If you would like to support us and contribute to the building of the kingdom, please also check out our website, the1820foundation.nl. Thank you for listening. Many blessings.